Christina from Creations with Christina. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you how I put together this pillow that I set up using some iron on vinyl and my Cricut Maker. You're going to need a couple supplies for this. Obviously you're going to need your Cricut machine, whether it be a Cricut Maker or Cricut Explorer Air 2. But you're also going to need your Easy Press. I'm using the Cricut Easy Press, but if you have some other type of hot press tool, you can use that. This is the original Easy Press, and then I'm also going to be using my little Easy Press board that I made. You're also going to need some iron on vinyl. I'm using this foil vinyl called Espresso. A pillow cover. I picked mine up at Hobby Lobby. It was $7.99 and 40% off. It's 17 by 17. And then you'll also need a pillow form. I'm using this pillow form right here, which is 18 by 18. And then just a couple of other tools you're gonna need. I'm using my light grip mat. It seems to work great with my vinyl when I'm cutting vinyl. I have my big Cricut ruler for cutting down my vinyl, a pair of scissors, a little pick tool. This is for the Cricut. And then I also have a cutting blade just in case I end up not using my scissors. I already have this project set up and ready to cut on Cricut Design Space, but I thought I'd walk you through the steps of how I set this up. The first thing I did was I made a shape that would represent my actual pillow. So I'm going to select the shapes and select the square, and I'm going to add a square on here and change it to the same size as my pillow cover, which would be 17 inches. So I'm just doing that right up here at the top, under 17. And as soon as I hit my tab key, the height automatically changes to 17 because I have everything set to keep everything proportionate. I don't want this box to be gray, so I'm going to go ahead and change my line type or change my fill color to white. And now I have a white box. Now this is really zoomed in, so I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can kind of get a full look at our pillow cover here. The next thing I want to do is start setting up my text that I'm going to be cutting and putting on my pillow. I'm going to select the text icon and I'm going to type in my sentiment. So I belong with you is my sentiment. And I want this to be centered. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight them and do alignment, center. And now everything is centered. So I belong with you is done in 2 lines. The next thing I want to do is change my font. So I'm going to go ahead and under the font option at the top, I'm going to look for Felicity, which is the font that I've been using and I really think is adorable. It is a Cricut font that is available through the Access if you have access to the Access program. And we're going to go ahead and just make this a little bit larger. Now I don't want such a big space between the 2 lines, so I belong and then there's this big space with you. I want to actually make this space a little bit smaller. What I did on my project was I put it at -5, but first I started with just doing the down arrow until I got to where I really liked it. But you could just go ahead and type in -5 and hit enter and it'll change the space. I also want to change the space between the letters because I want them to be touching. So we're going to go ahead and just reduce this down until most of our letters are touching. Now we're going to have to do a little bit of playing individually with each of the letters because some of them don't completely touch, like the I and the T in width. What we need to do first is play with the advanced options. We're going to go ahead and click advanced and on group to letters. As you can see on the right hand side, all of these letters now are each individual. We're going to zoom in so we can get a better view of our letters. So some of our letters are not touching, like the E and the B. So I'm just going to take my B and kind of scoot that over just a little bit just to make sure they're touching. And it looks like my O might be a little bit off. So we're going to scoot that over. And the other ones we have to do are the T and the H. So I'm just sliding those over, trying to keep it all in the same line. And then the other thing we need to do is just kind of play with our word U. I want to scoot the O over a little bit just so that it lines up a little bit better with the Y. And then we'll scoot the U over. And there we go. So we're just going to go ahead and select the U and scoot that over just a little bit. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out. Now, when I was looking at my pillow form and my pillow cover, I thought, I don't want to do anything that's super huge and super big that you're not going to see all of the letters once the pillow is inside of the case, because you know it will round out a little bit. So I pretty much decided that everything needed to be about 11 inches in length. I'm just going to move my box over to the side. I'm going to take my I Belong With You sentiment, and we're going to go ahead and attach those letters so it's all one group, and then we're also going to weld. And as you can see over here, now it became one cut. And then we still have our box here that represents our pillow. And now what I'm going to do is, with everything selected, I'm just going to stretch this out till it hits about the 11-inch mark. And that's my first sentiment that belongs on my first pillow. Let's work with our second sentiment. This one is a little bit different than the first one. I'm just going to click this little eye on the side where it says Weld Results and click that so that it hides my image. It's still there. You just have to hit the eye to turn it back on, but you're going to hit the eye to turn it off. I'm going to go ahead and select my next sentiment. So I'm going to type in my next sentiment, which is You Belong. Hit the Enter key. With me. And then we just have to do a little bit of playing with this. So we're going to go ahead and do our alignment in the center. Let's drag this up here so we can see it, and let's also zoom in a little bit. We're going to play with our line spacing again, so we're just going to go ahead and do our line spacing at -5. And then we're also going to play with our letter spacing. So we're going to do, once again, just kind of zoom this in. So we did our line spacing, and that's at -0.4. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so I can get a little closer to my letters. And we are going to play around with making sure everything is lined up together. First thing we need to do is hit the Advanced and ungroup the letters. And I could see a couple places already. So we need to scoot over our B. Our L is a little bit out of place. We're just going to keep scooting our letters over until we feel like we have everything where we want it to be. Okay. So now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and zoom back out. I'm going to move my box just because it makes it a little bit easier for selecting. I'm going to click and drag over my images and select them. Go down to the bottom of our layers screen and hit Attach and Weld. Right. So now that we have our sentiment together, we're going to go ahead and play again with our width on this one. So we know we want it to be about 11 inches. So we're just going to zoom this out for 11, just about 11 inches. I think we were at 11.52 on our other one. And then we're all set. Now before we're cut, we're going to make sure that our box for our square is turned off because we do not need to cut that one. So I'm going to turn both of these on just to show you what it looks like. So as you can see, this sentiment is a little bit smaller than our first one. So I played a little bit with adjusting so it didn't look too off. And it's only because the You Belong is much wider than the I Belong. So what I did was I unlocked my image and I just kind of played with getting this as close as I could to make it almost the same size as the other one. And it's pretty close now. I think we're pretty close. So I'm just going to leave it like that and call that done. And we're going to go ahead and cut out the You Belong With Me since I already did the I Belong. We're going to go ahead and hide the I Belong With You. Again, that's just clicking on that little I next to the cut image. And now we just have our You Belong With Me. Since I'm ready to go ahead and cut this, I'm going to click on Make It. And as you can see, it fills up a 12-inch by almost 7 inches. So I went ahead and loaded this onto my mat, and we're going to go ahead and cut this on our Cricut. The first thing we need to do before we set it into our Cricut is make sure, since we're doing an iron-on, that we have our image set at mirror. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and it flips our image around. And then we're going to go ahead and add our vinyl to our mat. When you're working with iron-on, you want to make sure your pattern side or your shiny side is facing down. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and, how I like to add even cardstock is I just start in the corner and go right down my mat, making sure that it's straight on that side. And then we can just go ahead and lay it down. Now that we have our vinyl or our iron-on added to our mat, we're going to go ahead and click continue. And once it connects with my maker, it's going to ask me to set my material. Since I'm just using a basic iron-on, I'm just going to go ahead and select iron-on. And it tells you to make sure, we already did it, that our mirror is on and that the shiny side of the iron-on is facing down on the mat. I'm just going to go ahead and load this into my Cricut. All I have to do is hit the little flashing arrow. And then once it's ready, all you have to do is click the little flashing Cricut. Once that's done, all you have to do is hit our little flashing arrows to unload our mat. And we're all set to start putting our project. Now that we have the hard part of our project done, which is setting it up, we're going to go ahead and start putting our project together. So I'm just going to go ahead and peel my sentiment off of my mat. And we're going to do a little bit of cuttings. I don't want to waste, there's a lot of space down here and I don't want to waste that vinyl. So I'm going to use my little ruler here. I love this ruler. It's perfect for working with this kind of thing, and it has a nice little rubbery edge to it, so it grips really nice. Of course, I'm not going to be cutting this perfectly straight, but we're going to be straight enough. And then I'm just going to use my knife blade to go ahead and cut away the extra piece. My favorite part of working with vinyl is weeding. So weeding is when you take away the excess parts of your cutout that you don't need. I love this craft pick because all I do is just kind of pick it up and start pulling away at the vinyl. So we're going to pull off this piece, and I'll probably speed this part up because I go pretty slow when I'm doing this because I want to make sure that I'm not pulling anything away. But I'll tell you, this cuts out beautifully and pulls off of the transfer piece, which is the clear piece that's on the front, pretty smoothly. So now that I got that done, I'm gonna go ahead and start getting my easy press heated up. So we're doing, my particular project is made out of 90% polyester and 10% linen. So I'm gonna go with the polyester setting. So I'm gonna set this at 315. If you're looking for what temperature you should set your machine at, check the Cricut website because it has a great little guide that tells you what setting it should be at. So all I did was hit temp, and then adjusted, temp, and then adjusted my setting, and then hit temp again for it to set. So right now it's at 85 degrees. So we're just gonna let this heat up while I finish out weeding. And the only thing I have left to do now is to go ahead and take out all these middle sections to all my letters. So again, this little tool is just the best thing for weeding. I absolutely love this thing. It grabs your parts so easy and makes it so much smoother for getting rid of these things. Okay, so let's just make sure I have everything, and I've got a little extra piece stuck right there. So let's see, I think I got everything pretty much pulled out, and hopefully you can see my sentiment there with all that glare. And I'm gonna set that aside, and we're gonna go ahead now and start setting up our pillow cover. I'm just gonna remove this from the package. So here's my pillow cover. It does have a zipper at the bottom, so I went ahead and unzippered it. And I'm gonna take my press board that I made, and I do have a video. That's my easy press, it's all ready to go. I do have a video on how I made this if you wanna check it out, but I'm just gonna stick that right inside. And I can pretty much tell where the center of this is because of my creases from the fold when it was in the packaging. So I am going to then take my die cut piece here, and what I like to do is I like to fold it in half, and then I do a little pinch at the top, and that'll help me get an idea of where the center of my image is. So just center is just going to be just a little above the B. So I'm going to go ahead and put this onto my board, knowing where about the center of my image is. So I'm making sure that center fold is right here. My B is right of center line is right on the crease there. And it's not going to, my image does hang off a little bit on my board. I can't turn my board because this it's just a little bit wider or longer than my paper here, or my pillow. So I'm just gonna leave it just like this, but the first thing I need to do is before I start doing my iron on, it does say to set and warm up your fabric for about 5 seconds. So I'm just gonna take my easy press, give it a nice little glide over there. I'm trying to leave a little bit of these creases so I can see where my center is gonna be still. But I'm just gonna warm this up. Just say for about 5 seconds. I think that was a little bit more than 5 seconds, but we're good there. I'm gonna take my image, and just looking at my lines that are on my side and above, I'm gonna kind of get a good idea of where the center is. And our vinyl, or our iron-on, this clear sheet is a little sticky, so it does kind of hold in place a little bit while you're trying to figure this out. So I think I just need to move it over just a little bit. There we go. So for the polyester, it does say to set it for 30 seconds at 315. So I have this set at 315, and my timer is already set for 30 seconds. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit the green button to go. And it says to give it about a moderate pressure. And then I'm gonna go ahead and move this over to the other side, and I'm gonna do this one more time at 30 seconds. Since I have pieces hanging off on the sides, I'm just gonna stick my hand in and slowly, kind of gently nudge my board over a little bit, and I'm gonna do 30 seconds again on each side of these so I can make sure that I've got all my letters adhered. Now that I have that done, the last thing I need to do, as it did say on the Cricut website, is to go ahead and do it for 15 additional seconds on the back side. So I'm just pulling my board out, and I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm gonna go right through the 2 layers. And I'm gonna do this at 15 seconds on each side again. So I'm gonna do 15 seconds on this side, and then I'm gonna move it over and do 15 seconds on the other side so I make sure I got all of my image. So now that I've set this for 15 seconds, I do need to let it cool just a little bit. It does say it's a warm remove, but you don't want to do it when it's fresh from being heated. And plus we put a lot of heat on this, so it does take a little bit longer for it to cool down and be able that you can pull the backing off. So I'm just gonna let this sit for a few seconds, and then we'll go ahead and pull the backing off. Now that I let it sit, it just peels off beautifully. I'm just gonna go nice and slow just to make sure we have everything cooled down enough so that we can pull this off. Awesome. All right, I love it. And then the last thing we need to do is just go ahead and add our pillow. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add my pillow form. Now this pillow is 18 inches. It did say on the package that you need an 18-inch pillow form. So I did go ahead and do what it said, and it actually stuffs it beautifully. So I'm just gonna squeeze this thing in here. It's the hard part. Setting it up in Cricut Design Space is the hard part. All right, so we have that all set up in there. Just gonna go ahead and zipper this closed. And we have our cute little pillow. So now I have the I belong with you and the you belong with me, which is going to be a nice little addition to our bedroom. I'm going to put this on my bed. I'll take a couple photos and insert them here at the very end of the video. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to give today's video a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that you guys enjoyed my video. All of the links to everything I use are down below in the YouTube description. And if you want to head over to my blog, you can head over there too. I'll have the links and more information there as well. Thanks everybody for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.